Hello.
Hi, Jared.
Hey, how's it going?
Good, good. I'm
Beef?
talking. I'm talking to you from off screen in this conversation.
Okay.
Paul's going to be the one today
Okay.
who's going to work with you on this.
Oh, wonderful. Okay, Paul. Very
Hello.
cool. Hello, Paul.
Hey, I can't see you yet, but I'm sure they'll switch that over so I can see you. But
Yeah, I can't see you either. But
thanks for
What's this like?
taking the time to join us. You know, we've had you come on to the come on in person many times, and I was like, hey, is Jared coming by this year? And find out that you're traveling. But it's great that you
yes,
were able
yeah.
to give us a call.
Every year I want to do this with you guys. I love it. I love what you're doing. I find it an absolute inspiration. Every year I want to supply your amazing team with tea. And yeah, as many times as you'll have me, I'm happy to keep you guys in matcha so that you can get through those shifts without hopefully too much coffee in your system. Although coffee is beautiful too, but matcha does go a long way with that mental clarity, right? So
Yeah.
sure.
We've got that matcha machine in the kitchen. Very nice.
Yeah. Cool. Okay. Yeah. Whenever you need more tencha, you just tell Brett, and he'll go grab some more from my team.
Awesome.
So I have a bunch of stuff here, and I think we've got the kettle going or prepping in the kitchen. At least I hope we do. Getting the water at the right temperature.
Will I be able to see you at all?
I hope so.
Yeah, because I'm really hoping to guide you through the process.
Their engineering is working on it. I can see them from my angle that they are frantically pushing buttons and typing things, and there's just papers flying all over the office. And it's a skeleton crew, Jared. So everyone's working. Yeah.
All good. I think actually I see somebody's foot. It might be because I'm using my smartphone, and maybe it's not very smart. So I'm going on a browser, and maybe if there's a zoom out option, why don't I see if I can? Oh, hey, I see an overhead. That's nice. That's very nice.
Great.
Okay.
Do you want to keep
Yeah,
the
I don't see
overhead,
you,
or
but
do you want to look straight at Paul?
We could maybe when we go to making it, I could do the overhead, and when we're talking at the beginning, I'd love to just look straight at Paul.
Sounds good.
Okay. Yeah, I have I see a tabletop. Okay. Maybe it's just this system you guys have maybe it's not ideal for my phone. It's a Google phone, but I see hands. And I see everything sort of middle. We're not live yet, right? Are we? I hope we're not live.
Oh no,
We're
definitely
live.
live.
We can do this live.
Everyone can see you at home. So we have a 4-up right now. You're the largest thing in the 4-up, so that everybody can say hi to you. And chat is
Okay.
happy to see you because you're a standby for Zeta. And then they can see Paul, they can see me, and they can also see the overhead. And so what they're doing in engineering is just routing you at least one of the feeds, I think, so that you can be interacting with that.
Okay, sweet. That's cool. Okay. Oh, I see clasped hands and a nose. Hello. There you are. Hi. How's it going, Paul?
Hello.
No, I see a beard.
We
I
have
know
a
it's
very
Paul.
special Kevin shot. Just your peers.
Oh, there you go.
Popped up to like the
Okay.
bottom third. So
That's amazing. Yeah, no, this is good. Okay. That's awesome. Thank you.
All right. So
Okay.
yeah,
So I guess we're
I hear you're in Japan right now, eh?
Yeah. So every year we try to come over. During the pandemic, it was a little bit more of a challenge for obvious reasons. But yeah, since I guess last year, we've been making a big effort to come to visit the different farmers that we buy from. And it just so happened that this year I was really hoping we're doing this musical Tea for Peace thing with my band. I thought it'd be really cool to go and surprise you guys with some music. But then it was like right while we're on our trip to Japan, I'm like, well, you know what? That's kind of cool too, is to just, and also I kind of like to wake up with you guys at 4 a.m. I feel like I'm cheating right now because it's 9 p.m. over here.
Oh, very nice.
I'm not tired at all. Every other year I like to be there as my father calls old dark stupid, and hang out with you in the wee hours of the morning and make you tea. But here we are.
So I have an assortment. Now you sent us a package, a care package of all the different utensils that will be necessary for this process.
Yeah.
Which
and I thought it'd be cool if we made some matcha together. I think would be pretty sweet. Are you into it? Because I want to kind of take you through this whole whole setup. And okay, all right. So first of all, you have your matcha, and it's we mill it. Hey, we've been on the show a number of times, bringing in our mills and stuff and showing how we mill, and we mill for optimal fineness, and you don't want to be too fine or too coarse. You don't want it to be too hot or too cold on the mill. So really careful milling process, less than 10 microns per. When you're making your tea, though, there's lots of different ways of making matcha. What we've sort of developed over time is a food service perspective. So it's a technique that's really good for cafes. And it just so happens that it makes a lot of sense at home, too. The idea being to be very, careful with the tea and honor it. But this is not tea ceremony. Does that make sense? Like there's a whole other... Right. Sometimes people come... Yeah, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, sure. But yeah. There's a more formal, I guess, way of presenting the tea.
Exactly. So I just want to be sure, sometimes I have people come into the shop, and so that tea shop in Victoria, and they ask for a tea ceremony, and I'm always like, we don't actually provide that. It's a 30-minute to 3-hour, if not more hours process. It's a beautiful cultural moment. And there is actually a teacher, I think there's 3 teachers now, but one that we're really tight with, Ayako Sensei in town with the Urasenke Tankokai, that's actually teaching tea ceremony. So if anybody wants to study in their Victoria, they should totally look her up. But this process has been really useful for cafes. So we are really into, if you haven't noticed from previous years, we're a little bit nerdy when it comes to numbers and stuff. So
I've noticed
we love
that that's why bit.
You'll know, we get into scales and temperature and all that. And, before that brings up to the point that maybe you might want to throw that kettle that we let you guys maybe set it for 65 degrees centigrade. Do you know how to use that kettle?
The kettle has just come into the room here at 65, so we should be good.
Oh, wow. Oh, amazing. Okay, so you're good to rock and roll. And we generally, we drop the temperature down a little bit if the selection is from Kyoto, and we increase the temperature a little bit if it's from Kyushu. So central Japan and southern Japan have slightly different manufacturing techniques. One uses a lighter steaming technique and makes for a less forgiving but more fragrant tea. It needs a lower temperature. The south uses a more robust steaming process. They also finish fire, and that means that you get a little bit more chocolatey notes. It's more forgiving, but it's less aromatic than what you'd find from central Japan. So 65 is a nice happy medium, and it's cooling as we speak. It's going to be perfect, hopefully, for the tea that you have. What tea did my crew give you? What do you got there?
We've got the Okumodori Okuda from the Fujoki family.
Okuda.
Yeah.
Oh wow! Okay, cool. That is actually my favorite matcha.
Single state matcha. Yeah.
That's good. I told them to just give you something nice, so they gave you something really nice. And we rotate our selections all the time, and we have teas that are more expensive than that one, but I have a soft spot in my heart for the Okumidori Okuda. That's by Fujioka, right?
Yes. Yeah, the Fujioka.
Yeah, that's
family.
a Kyoto selection. So it's going to love being a little bit cooler, which is kind of where we're heading with my more... I talk too much. Okay. And water does get cold as we speak. So what you want to do is you want to throw a little bit of hot water into the bowl, and you want to heat it up and toss out some water. Sort of preheat your bowl. You want to put your sieve...
I have 2 bowls here, so that one is to toss the water into. Is that the idea here?
Yeah, that'll work out perfectly. Yeah.
Does it matter which
I
one
think you could also use it for, well, you're going to be the pro now after we're finished here. So I think I lent you a couple bowls so you could make everybody tea. So it might be nice to have somebody run and grab you a cup or something you can just throw the hot water into.
Okay, great.
Because
Yeah,
you
so
make
get a cup.
the tea in the bowl and then you drink out of the bowl.
So I just put a little bit of water in the
And then
bottom and sort of, do I kind of
Swirl it around.
swirl it around a bit?
Yeah. And then you preheat it. I've already preheated my bowl here.
We're trying
I'm
to
in a good
prevent
place,
the
but
we're trying to prevent the bowl from eating all the heat from the second round of water, right? That's the point of preheating, to keep everything at the same temperature.
that's right. Yeah. Because so we used to do it before we were using temperature variable kettles. We used to use the vessel transfer technique. And for people watching from home, if you don't have a temperature variable kettle, boiling water is 100 degrees centigrade. And every time you put it into a room temperature vessel, it drops 10 degrees centigrade. So if your goal hottest temperature is 70, you need to do 3 vessel transfers from a rolling boil to get your ideal temperature.
Wow.
That becomes problematic, though, in a situation where you don't want it to cool, right? And so that's why you would preheat for thermal stability. So yeah, exactly what you're talking about.
All right, so I can feel it. I can feel that it's that the bowl is a little bit warm now. So I'll just pour the water out.
Awesome. Okay, and then you want to put that bowl on the scale, and you want to put the sieve onto the bowl, and you want to pair the bowl and the sieve to 0 on the scale. Make sure you're measuring grams, and you're going to measure out 2 grams onto the sieve. This is a level teaspoon,
Wait,
or 2 scoops of the bamboo teaspoon. Yeah, what's up?
Is there a setting on this to make sure I'm measuring grams?
It should be set to grams.
Okay.
I can't see through, but you should be okay.
Okay.
Is anybody a scale pro in the room? Do we have any?
Here comes one.
Okay. All right.
And you said, sorry, 22 grams?
2.0.
2.0 grams. Oh, okay.
Yeah. 2.0 grams of tea. Yeah. Very little bit goes a long way when it comes to matcha.
Easy way to find out.
Also,
And then you're going to push the matcha through the sieve.
Okie dokie.
Paul, you might also want to work a little further into the center of the table, so because I think Jared can only see a certain part of the overhead right now.
Oh, I thought this was the part he could see.
Yeah.
Sorry. Okay. If
I can
move it-
see.
Can you see the scale there? now?
Yeah. Oh, perfect. A little bit more. Yes, perfect. Yes, I can see everything now.
Ah.
Beautiful.
Okay. For some reason, it
So you're gonna put-
changed weight. That's weird.
Yeah, you're probably, is it on like is there space? I kind of see a line on the table there. Maybe there's just it's uneven that can happen. So put it on more of an even surface. So the scale needs to be on an even surface. If you can move it either further to the right or further to the left, but just off of that crack.
Wow, yeah, this is
There you
very.
go.
This is a very
Yeah.
intense scale. Very sensitive. All right.
Yeah, Saya scales. Yeah, if you press there's a setting on it where you can have it count up. We're using it just by tapping the power button, which is pretty rad. But yeah, there's another one we have that adjusts for weather. So when it gets really, really high pressure systems, your scale will get kind of wonky when you're at lower doses, when you're measuring really fine. So there's some scales that can counter, can make up for that, which is barometric pressure.
So,
For this one, yeah, you want to put 2 grams through the sieve into the bowl.
let me just quickly grab some scissors. Oh, there's some scissors in here.
I think on the counter there. Or possibly a box cutter.
And it's smelling pretty good over here. I'm making a different selection from the same farmer myself. It's a Samidori. And on our trip recently, like 2 days ago, we were in Fukuoka, down south, visiting Takaki-san. I don't know if I'm speaking to the void or if everybody can hear me.
Yeah,
but,
I can hear you.
Oh yeah? Okay, sweet. Cool. And we actually also went to a tea competition in Hamamatsu. It wasn't a competition, really more like an exhibition. an exhibition of the teas that won first place domestically that were sort of submitted to judges. And it was crazy. One selection, it was 1 kilogram sold. The winner sold for $10,000 for 1 kilogram. Isn't that insane?
Wow.
All
right. So we got 1.9.
And that's
Oh,
if yeah.
went a little past. Can I take
So you want to? I would tell people to just do 0.1 gram of error. So either 1.9 or 2.1 or 2.0. Just shave a little bit off, and you should be good.
There we go. 2.1.
A leveled off teaspoon also does the trick. Perfect. Yeah, you'll drive yourself crazy without some sort of error.
And then you say
Sort
just
of
use
variable allowance.
Use the spoon to push it through
Yeah, pick the sieve up off of the bowl. Otherwise, it can sometimes drop into the wet bowl, and then you're never going to get the matcha through. And you just push using the edge of the spoon, push it through the sieve. A lot of people don't do this. And obviously with cafes, they want to go as fast as possible. And at home, when you're making, say, a matcha in the morning, you want to go as fast as possible. If you're doing it right, and it's a little bit of practice there, Paul, to get it right. But if you use just the edge of the spoon really fast, you can do it in 3 seconds.
Oh, okay.
Just, yeah. You see that? So you want to just let this process take 3 seconds. And then when you're done, this is when I put my tools back in the jar. And then this is the point where I'm going to lid the matcha that's in the tin.
Right, because you want to keep it closed up as much as possible.
That's right. Because after you open it, which you and I have just done, we freshly opened our matcha, you have about 3 weeks to go through it. At that point, you're going to start to taste the degradation of the umami. And then a few weeks later, you're going to start to taste and smell aromatic and flavor degradation. So going through it quickly. I tell people with wine, you don't open up all the bottles of wine that you buy, like every wine bottle in the cellar. If you have a cellar of wine, it'd be kind of crazy, right? But people do it all the time with tea. It's unfortunate because you're just you're initiating the oxidation process. Some teas can handle it. There's teas that you do age. Matcha is not one of them. It doesn't handle aging well. So,
all right.
You want to then put your water on 90 grams, which is the same as 90 mils, after tearing the scale again.
Right, of course, because I've taken
tearing it to zero.
Weight off, or taking the sieve off. So 90 mil or 90 grams, which is 90 mils. Okay.
Exactly. That's right. It's, any scientist watching will say it's not quite 90 grams, but it's close enough for our purposes. 90 grams works. And then, I remember now that you guys were lent a brand new bamboo whisk. So what you're going to do is have you already poured the water? Yes, you have.
I poured the water.
So grab that other bowl and put some hot water in it, please.
Okay.
Yeah. And then you're going to open up your bamboo whisk. And if you want to wet the fronds first in the bowl of hot water first, just the first time you use a bamboo whisk, you don't want to use it straight. You want to whisk it a bit in some hot water and open it up a bit and get it used to it, coax it. Otherwise, it'll be brittle and it's more prone to breaking if you don't give it a quick little rinse before you start working with it.
Okie doke.
This is actually from the Kubo family. There are 25 generations making bamboo whisks. That's
25.
That's 500 years. Isn't that incredible? Right. I don't know how well you can see this, but that band is holding fronds. You can look closely at your whisk. For every frond on the inside, there's a corresponding frond on the outside, but there's a gap because it's made out of the skin of the bamboo. And it's been seasoned for a year, and it has ideal density from the Takayama forest in Nara, Japan.
Ideal matcha.
So now you're going to use your whisk.
All right. So we're going to use
ideal tool. You don't want to use like an electric thingy or whatever. You want to use a bamboo whisk called a chasen. This is going to make all the difference. You hold it perpendicular in the bowl. Your fingers are between the ridge and the black band.
Okay.
Okay, and it's kind of over top. You're not beating eggs. You do not want to whisk on an angle like this. You want it pendulum.
Straight up and down.
Pendulum, you just go back and forth. You're going to move your way from one wall to the other. You're drawing I say it's like a lot of M's between walls. Some people want to go M, but I want to say go.
So not
Okay.
not
Between
around
walls.
and around.
And then you
but-
go right in the center.
Okay.
No circles.
No circles.
And you
just
go
up
right
down.
in the center and you whisk it as with really long strokes. You're trying to spill the liquid, and then you go from one wall to the other again after you've sort of woken up some air. And at this point, you're integrating the froth that you made. So there's 3 stages. 1, gather in everything, drawing M's. 2, right in the middle, long strokes, trying to spill, introduce tons of air as much as you can. 3, integrate that froth that you made into a nice foam by drawing those M's again.
Oh, okay.
And then you pause in the center and you pull up.
Oh, I can see the froth. Okay.
Let's see what you got.
Can you see that?
All right. Okay.
Got some frothy stuff
Yeah.
going on.
Yeah. That's a good first try. Yeah. Awesome. You want it to be about 1 centimeter thick, and you want it to be like no visible holes in the froth.
Okay. So
That's pretty.
I need some more.
You want to
whiskey.
be in the middle. Yeah, but you only have about 15 seconds to do this process before you start to over extract. But
Okay.
it's good for practice to just ignore that rule and just try and get a nice froth at first. So try and go like equal. It's like a pendulum, forward, back, forward, back, forward, back, and it's the pressure brushing teeth on the bottom of the bowl.
Okay.
Wow, I'm losing feeling in my legs. I'm crouched onto Tommy right now.
Okay. It's pretty frothy. I don't know if I'm gonna get a centimeter
Yeah.
worth of froth on this, but
You'll get there. You'll get there. Yeah, it's just like anything. It's practice. People who do like shaving cream and stuff, they generally get, or if you play a guitar, it's a similar muscle in the wrist.
oh,
But it's a loose wrist, firm fingers that does the trick. Yeah.
all right, and that's
But it's really fun to try and to just keep working on it. I'll tell you one thing. Yeah, and then try drinking some. Let's drink some. Let's see how
Ready
it
to
tastes.
drink?
That's
All
the
right.
most important thing, right? Okay. Let's right out of the bowl. Yeah. Yeah, I got a good one over here.
ooh, yeah, that's nice.
How are we doing over there?
That's good. It's
Is that nice? Is that nice?
Yeah.
Okay. Like umami, vegetal sweetness, good aromatics, no?
Yeah. It's got a really nice, really like fresh. The sort of fresh, like green, sort of grass and
Like noti, right? Like a yeah. Like the people like the chlorophyll in it, right?
yeah.
Like kale or something, right? Yeah. It gives you, so it really stimulates your metabolism. So makes you really hungry if you haven't eaten. So I should say that before you drink some matcha, make sure you're not particularly hungry. And are you particularly hungry?
No, I'm good. I'm good. Yeah.
You're good. Okay. All right. If you're in a decent place, it'll just make you kind of hungry. If you're, just ate, it doesn't really matter. But if you're really hungry and you have it, it can make you really, really hungry, which can be unpleasant. So just be careful. And also, if you use too hot of water, that stimulates a release of a whole bunch of tannins. You want to actually, can you boil the water? And we can make one more together and you can ruin it and see what really bad matcha tastes like.
All right. Let's do it. Can we?
Yeah? Okay. Yeah.
Can we take this and so this
Let's
is
boil that water.
So you want it full 100 degrees.
Yeah, I want it fully on. Yeah, I want you
All
to
right.
taste what happens when you wreck your matcha. Yeah, so this is what I always do in training sessions because, I also, when farmers send me tea, I love them to send me stuff that they think is terrible from what they've made and stuff that they're really proud of so that I can understand a bit, what is good and what isn't good. I think it really helps a lot. So, but there's a bunch of pseudo tannins in green tea. They're not true tannins. But they act very similarly to tannins on the tongue. So when it burns, it releases a whole bunch of them, and it's very drying. It's almost like sandpaper on your tongue.
Okay.
The nice thing about regardless of the temperature, is you're going to get L-theanine. The L-theanine is going to help with memory and mental focus and alertness. It also helps to calm you down, strangely enough. So the caffeine that's in tea actually helps with the alertness, and then the L-theanine helps to calm you down. So you get a stimulant and somewhat of a sedative in the same drink, which is why having matcha isn't going to make you kind of feel all like jittery, if that makes sense.
Right. So it's like a more a nicer stimulant, I guess. It sort of makes the idea is it sort of makes you more alert without making you getting that sort of jitteriness that you get from coffee sometimes.
Yeah, exactly. And you've had it in previous years, right? Like, how did it make you feel when you had it on other years?
Yeah.
Or is it a memorably decent feeling?
Yeah, it was good. Yeah, it definitely has a bit of that. That feel of sort of, and like I'm not somebody who gets like a big kick out of coffee, like the caffeine from coffee. I don't usually like find it affects me that much. But I definitely
Right.
when we in the previous years when we've had the matcha, I have noticed the certain just kind of not a sort of a buzz, but just kind of a like, oh, this is good. This is I feel more aware, that I'm doing the right thing.
Cool. Yeah. Okay. Awesome. No, that's great. No, this is, and well, now you can, we're going to make another one together once the water's boiled, and then you're going to be the one making tea or showing people how to make tea, right? It'll be good. And then it'd be interesting if you can make the matcha, and just see how it gets you through these desert bus sessions, because you guys, one of my, I have a show called Jagavision, and the editor, video editors, right? Like they're up crazy hours a night, right? So, and he swears by this stuff because, you don't get that, kind of overaction. And you're saying you don't really feel it from coffee so much, but as I'm sure you're well aware, a lot of people do, right? So it's nice to have something a little bit softer. I'm a big fan of coffee myself. Me and Serge, have a really good dynamic talking about good coffees and also good teas, and yeah, it's always good times for sure.
That's interesting. I always sort
but
of.
Yeah, I don't know. Should I?
Oh, I was just gonna say I always sort of saw you, as your specialty was tea, sort of as opposed to coffee. But you're like you're equal opportunity, eh?
Oh, equal opportunity all the way. I love good coffee, good chocolate, good cheese, good wine, craft beer. I love good tea. I think that tea is perhaps experiencing a resurgence, because this is not the first time that you see people talking about, single estates and cultivars and elevation, etc. There's been times throughout history where that has been very important for tea enjoyment. In a similar, and with espresso, it's a little bit newer. It's only less than 100 years old, essentially. The enjoyment of it, or around 100 years old. Don't call me on that. Somebody watching is going to look up the history of espresso, but let's just say it's younger than the tea experience, right? And so I think there's a lot though that you can learn. I love the parallels of good wine, good, actually carefully made kombucha, for example, good teas, like amazing teas where the farmers have, through enzymatic oxidation, pulled out incredible flavors. Like, I don't know how much you know about matcha, or I think I've talked about this a bit in the past, but matcha is essentially a green tea, right? And there is a process of making green tea where you need to pause what's called the polyphenol oxidase enzyme, and it's a process called kill green, within 23 hours of harvest through the steaming process. And you lock in so much as a result of deactivating that so early on in the process. Oolongs, crimson teas, red teas, black teas, they allow that enzyme to act on the leaves a little bit longer, and really change the structure in really interesting ways. It definitely makes them different than green teas. And then matcha, you don't do like other teas where you would say roll them or crush them into needles or balls or anything. You dry them flat, and then you actually devein them and destem them.
Oh, wow.
And then you're just working with the pure part of the leaf, and that's called tencha, which I brought on the show before. And you mill that into a micro powder. So it's pretty special.
All right, so we've got
okay. I see
got
that.
our way
I think the water
too
came.
hot
Is
water
that what
here.
just happened?
Yeah, we've got our water that's boiled here.
Amazing. Okay, let's go through.
So same process here,
Okay.
eh?
Okay, you're gonna see. Same process. You're going to see a very different color to the tea. Let's be prepared for that. It's going to be interesting. Okay, but let's do it again. Do you remember how many grams?
2
Go on that.
grams.
You got it. Yeah, 2 grams
2.0.
of some beautiful tea. Yeah,
I
it's not going to be so
apologize
beautiful
for
anymore.
ruining your group beautiful tea
And this is what we need to do. Yeah, it's part of the
for
process.
good cause.
No, and it is. For education.
That'd be great.
What do we got?
All right, 2.1. All right,
Amazing.
so we are locked in there. So now we can
Okay.
use this and just
Use the edge. You're going to do this in 3 seconds. It's going to be amazing. You got this, Paul. You know, sometimes if you put it through the edge of the, like rather than putting it through the bottom of the sieve, put it through the side of the sieve. You get more surface area.
Oh yeah, there we go. Okay. All right.
Yeah. And it's going to go through faster. Yeah.
All right, we got that.
Amazing.
And
Even
then
better.
How much?
Okay. Now we're going to pour some boiling water on it.
How much water was it again? It was
How much? You tell me.
80.
What do we?
80 milliliters.
90.
90.
Very close.
90 milliliters.
Very close. 90. 90. Yeah.
All right, here we go.
And when you have that kettle, it's really nice flow rate, but those watching from home, don't pour right on the powder if you got really fast flow rate, because the powder will go up the sides. With the slower flow rate, you should be fine. Yeah, 90 grams.
All
And
right.
I couldn't get a froth ball for like a year. I had to actually get my wife to whisk the bowls, and my wife is the co-owner of Jagasilk, Miu, and she had to whisk every bowl when we were doing sales because I just couldn't get a froth. And for me, I was on a slight angle. I wasn't perpendicular in the bowl. So you get another chance here.
All right, here we go. So back and forth.
We're going to keep perpendicular.
All right, so keep it up and then like
Yeah.
this. All right, here we go.
Yes, it's perpendicular. And I also like to say, before you start, hold on one sec. Let's pause for a moment.
Yeah.
Let's pause for a moment. I know you already started, but I always tell people to breathe. And I can't really see much of your positioning right now, but a lot of people like to bunch in like this, but a really nice long arm is really helpful. And I find for me, just kind of slightly rotating my whisking hip away from the bowl a little bit lets me get a slightly longer arm. And then I anchor the bowl with my non-whisking hand. And that gives me kind of the room I need for having good technique. In the past, I would be bunched up like this, or I've seen people doing this with really red faces and stuff. It's not all about speed. It's about graceful and just being chill and zen in the moment. So then you start whisking, just gentle, drawing M's from side to side, gather in everything. That's the first stage. Second stage is whisk vigorously in the center, super vigorously in the center. This is where you're introducing tons of air, equally forward as back. It's a pendulum. Lots of froth. A lot of people get too focused in the center trying to go fast, but you want really long strokes, almost spilling the liquid out of the bowl. And then you're going to go from one wall to the other, and you're going to pause in the center and pull up. How do we do?
I think that is a frothier mix than I had
Looking a
before.
little-
So we're making progress.
Okay. Excellent.
It's a lot darker than it was.
Oh yeah, definitely. That is the next.
So
That is a level up. Okay, let's taste some burnt matcha. See what you think. Be careful, it's going to burn. You can't take nice big gulps like you could before. So watch that. Or you'll burn all your taste buds off for a little bit there, which is
I see. Yeah.
problematic if you want to taste anything.
Oh, that's really interesting. It's
It probably shouldn't taste that bad when you first taste, but the finish.
It actually it almost tastes.
What you were saying?
It almost tastes more like watery. Like I'm not. It's not. The actual sort of matcha taste isn't as.
Yeah.
You're losing. I'm losing all of or losing a lot of that sort of nice undertone of all the the sort of more complex.
You're talking about umami.
Yeah, I guess it is. Yeah, that's sort of wonderful.
Umami is one of the first things to get burned off. Yeah. That kind of brothiness, right? The backbone flavor of the tea. And that's what a lot of the really nice Japanese matchas are famous for, is having a nice sort of concentration of umami. And that gets lost when you burn it. And you also end up burning away a lot of the sweetness from the tea. And you're left with a very drying, kind of muted matcha. I think you get some fragrance still off of it, but it blows off pretty fast. And in the finish, it gets quite drying. Do you see what I'm talking about with like that? It's almost like grape skins on the tongue.
I can definitely feel it more. That sort of, I guess that's the tannin aspect, or the sort of similar to tannin thing of the sort of drying out on the tongue.
Yeah.
If he mixed it with water that was too cold, what would be the effect?
Huh?
If the water was too cold?
Cold water is actually quite pleasant. Yeah, it's quite pleasant. I actually do it all the time. I make it's a nice summer drink. So like anything, there's some pros and cons. I think the con for cold water is you don't get as much fragrance. You don't get a full flavor structure, but you definitely get the umami still, and you get that kind of like that greenness. It's really easy to get muted though if you want to have it with anything else. On its own though, it's quite lovely. It does well with cold water. Even with lower temperatures like 40 degrees, 50 degrees, you can pull out really interesting flavors, especially from central Japanese production. When you're talking Kyoto, etc. I do find that it does depend on where it was produced for sure. Whether or not it's gonna,
And it's interesting, well, because of course with regular, brewing tea, brewing it in cold water, you can do, but it takes obviously a lot longer and everything because you're not. But with matcha, you're actually eating the tea, so
which makes it really special. I mean, I shouldn't agree with you so quickly though, because when you're brewing cold and you want to drink it quickly with say a really nice loose leaf, just pack the pot, use small amounts and slightly longer extractions instead of say 15, 20 seconds for kind of a standard extraction of a kung fu tea. You would want to do more like 5 minutes in cold water. And I've had some really nice selections. One of my customers at the tea bar taught me how to do it. It was, I was pretty stoked. It's a lovely way to do it. But yeah, cold brew normally though is a 24, if not 72-hour process. And that's when you're going to unlock some pretty beautiful flavors. Fruit though, fruit and sweetness come through in the cold extractions for a lot of the cold brew teas. But again, you're losing out on that acidity. You don't get many of the pseudotannin extraction, and you don't always want to not have it. Actually, a small amount of those tannins or those pseudotannins are going to give you flavor structure. And flavor structure is an amazing thing. It really makes things more complex and three-dimensional and more interesting to taste. So as brewers of tea, coffee, matcha, we are sort of compound curators, flavor compound curators. And we can participate in this process by having a careful control over the grams of the botanical that we're using, the temperature of water, the extraction time, and that milliliter volume that we're using. If we're really careful, we can make some, and I like to do that a lot, especially when I'm say drinking the same thing from different farms, for example, different matchas. It lets me taste the difference between the teas rather than the difference between the techniques, if that makes sense.
Mm. Yeah. So, so you said you're currently in Japan to sort of visit some of the farms that you bring in the tea from.
Yes. Yeah. And well, there was two reasons. One, we went to Hamamatsu in Shizuoka to see the exhibition of the award-winning teas for this year that won first place and second place and like a whole bunch of them. And we got to see them. We couldn't smell them or drink them, but they were on display. And you got to see, you know, a write-up of the farmers that won and all this stuff. And it was really cool. And there was a whole like tea festival happening in the city, and we got to go and meet a bunch of different groups of farmers, etc. And then we went down south to Kyushu to visit one of the farms that we buy from, a younger farmer named Mr. Takaki. And we spent a bunch of time learning about tea cultivars. And I love to put this information on the teas. Like if you look at that, it says Okumidori Okuda on your tin there.
Yeah.
And what Okumidori means is it's a cultivar. So it's like Granny Smith or Red Delicious for apples, or Pinot Noir or Merlot for wine. You know, we don't talk about cultivars so much in tea, but just like, you know, the difference between a Gala apple and a Granny Smith apple is extremely apparent, even though they're both apples. There is also a big difference between different tea cultivars. Same farmer, same technique, different tea cultivars will produce very different teas, which is super interesting. And then we got to visit I love to visit the fields, right? So we toured a bunch of the different fields, because also what that Okuda means on the package there, that's the name of the field. So rather than just doing single estate, we always like to peel back the onion layers over time, because next year we'll be doing this for 20 years, if you can believe it.
Wow.
And we're trying to understand more and more as we go. And that Okuda is actually the name of the field within the farm. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So eventually you're going to get to
so
just
it's like
this one tree.
Oh yeah, that's a thing. It's a thing. Single tree. Yeah, they do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're.
You get what? Maybe
Generally,
like,
those are handpicked.
you get like one cup out of that, or 2 cups out of that. Like you don't get much out of it, I'm assuming.
No, not at all. Yeah, no, you. Well, I mean, so the single trees you see growing are, you know, when they do it pretty hardcore, they're doing the arbor cultivars, the ones that have been allowed to grow to tree height, and this is not done really in Japan. You see it more in China, etc., where they harvest with ladders and stuff. Because the pictures you see of the rolling fields of tea plants in Japan, for example, kept at hip height, that is a carefully manicured landscape. That is like a English ornamental garden where they kept those hedges perfectly. And they're keeping it like that so that they can see the new growth, because that's what they're harvesting to make tea. Because matcha is all the new growth. They don't use the mature leaf growth. It's a very and it also keeps the process of harvesting a lot easier, because they can also use their machinery that they use for the harvesting process a lot simpler if they're more carefully manicured like that. But yeah, single field I think is so interesting. You know, Okumidori from Okuda versus Shimoyama versus Fukada, for example. We have like a field series that we do that's really, really fascinating. And we visited the Hasegawa field this time in Fukuoka, and we were learning about the difference between, say, Saemidori and Yabukita and Okumidori, like physically. So I could see physical attributes. And actually, I have some. Oh, they're kind of drying out right now, but I was so stoked about them. Yeah, they are so dry now. But I brought these back. So we were just picking these off of the tree branches. Can you see that okay?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's one. Here. Like, what's an example? Like this one here. This is Saemidori. And I was explained to me that the reason the branches split down here, they make like a V. And you don't see that with, say, something like Yabukita. This is a where's my Yabukita? There's a Yabukita. This is a Yabukita from the Hasegawa lot. This is a spray-free one, and I was able to isolate this one pretty quickly because I can see the bug bites on it and the damaged leaves, which happens through not spraying. Japan grows tea at a pretty low elevation and pretty high in terms of longitude, latitude for sort of world tea production. So you do see a little bit more issues around bug damage, et cetera, when they don't spray. I'm a big fan of organic, but it's very challenging to get. especially stuff that has that beautiful umami flavor. But that's actually one of the things we're going to do tomorrow is we're going to go talk to a farmer in Nishio who's growing organically. And we do have organic selections from Takaki, for example, that he's growing. They're not organic, actually. They're spray-free, and I need to be really careful to differentiate between those two things. So he's avoiding spraying altogether. But it's really interesting. This is a Tsuyu Hikari, is the name of this cultivar. It grows up nice and spiky. Like the way on the branches, when it was fresh on the plant, it's like spiky like a punk.
And that whole
it
thing
has
is
a very
new growth.
Sorry?
That whole branch is that would be considered the one that they harvest for new growth. So a lot of the
Yeah, I mean,
please continue.
yes and no. No, you're right, but it's not. It is and it isn't. Like this area here, they're not going to harvest. This area is browned on me, but when I picked it right off the plant, it was still a bit green. So there's a part of the branch that's still green, and they're not going to harvest any of the part that's turned brown. Mm-hmm. So it kind of greens to around here, and it depends on the cultivar how low the greenness goes. So some cultivars give you more harvestable stem tip. Does that make sense?
Is the plant that they're getting the matcha off of the same plant? Yeah. Like, do they also take the other parts of the plant to make other types of tea, or is there like these are matcha specific plants that aren't using for anything else?
Yeah, if we backtrack to that, so these are all Camellia sinensis. So yeah, if we start, so Camellia sinensis is the tea plant. The tea plant is responsible for making all sorts of different kinds of teas: green teas, oolongs, black teas, red teas, blue teas. There are oolongs. Sorry, there's all sorts of different teas that are made. It's all about controlling enzymatic oxidation. You can see these leaves are browning because they haven't been steamed. They're actually enzymatically oxidizing right now. And I saw that they were greener when I had them. There's like browning happening around the leaves. This is an oxidation. If I just let these sort of passively oxidize, they're going to turn completely brown. And then I could call them like a white tea, because the white teas are completely passively oxidized, whereas active oxidation, like crushing the leaves and shaking them and, doing, kind of hydrating them, etc., happens with oolongs and stuff. And to make matcha, you need to first make tencha. Tencha is made by shade growing these leaves. So when you're like, oh, I want to turn this part of the field into tencha, okay, I'm gonna give it some healthy amount of good fertilizer. I'm gonna shade it using these like kabuse or tanakabuse, which is like drape directly onto the fields, or hold them in a shelf system on posts. They put like above the plants to shade them about 2 to 3 weeks before harvest. And then they harvest these shade grown leaves and they steam them and dry them flat. So when you actually harvest those leaves and you're like, hey, I want to make tencha for matcha, you're going to bring them to a completely different tea factory than I would if I was like, you know what, I'm going to make some sencha, a very popular Japanese green tea. For a sencha with an S, mm-hmm. I would go to a sencha factory. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and the like a single tea plant would only be used for one of those things. Like you wouldn't take like the new leaves and make matcha, and then take the older leaves and make a different type of tea or whatever. It's all once a particular.
Oh, definitely. Plant... No. The same plant. The mature leaves are made into bancha. Bancha is roasted often into hojicha, or you sometimes see it blended 70-30 with puffed rice to make a genmaicha. Okay. So the mature leaves are most definitely used for other purposes. You also see hirabancha, different things like this. Also, there's first flush, which is called ichibancha, or number one tea in Japan. That appears at the end of May, sometimes early June, depending on the region. And then you have the second flush, which grows extremely fast because of the tropical conditions here in the summer. And you're going to see a much more two-dimensional tea, comparatively speaking. First flush teas are way more interesting because they've come out of a winter dormancy where they woke up, they had a slow growth, lots of time to focus all those volatile oils that are then further enhanced through a slow growing process, sort of encouraged by that shade growing. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And
Yeah, and then those are then processed into tencha, which then gets milled into matcha.
and so then and you had mentioned sencha and bancha, and bancha, to my
Mm-hmm.
understanding, is like that's kind of the everyday drank tea in a household, whereas sencha might be considered that it's the nice stuff you pull out when you have visitors.
Actually, when you say ocha in Japan, like tea, like, you know, when you go to a restaurant in North America and you say, I want tea, and you don't specify, they're going to give you some red rose or something.
Yeah.
Right. In Japan, if you say, I just want tea, they're generally going to give you sencha.
Oh, okay.
That is the tea. Now, there's different qualities of sencha. There's like really like the good stuff, and then there's kind of everyday drinking sencha. Definitely like just saying, I'd like some tea. That's what you're generally talking about. Hojicha, you'll see often as a nice complement to cuisine. Sencha is not normally something you would have with a meal. It's more something you would have with sweets, as a sort of like during tea time, kind of like, you know, we have tea time with cakes or something, you know, they would have it with traditionally anyways, just say like red bean sweets or things like this. And you'd have sencha. Bancha, though, you could have with a meal because it's so much lighter. It's not as rich. You don't have that umami sort of intensity. It's definitely more lightweight. You also see it used for RTDs, ready to drinks, like the plastic bottle tea that's pre-prepared. It's commonly made with something like bancha or a mix of bancha and sort of lower cost sencha, things like this. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Now, something that came up in the chat, and I think maybe I know there could be an answer to this, but someone was saying, you know, while I was at least attempting to do the whisking thing, saying that they didn't know whether they would be able to, you know, that they have like a wrist problems, and they're saying I don't know if that would be something that I could do. And I was thinking about that. We've got that sort of automatic matcha machine in the thing. Obviously, it's not the same quality.
Yeah, we talked about that last year. Yeah, it's a little bit coarser. I have it at home. I've had a good experience, and I find that pre-breaking the tencha helps. They do like to kind of sign you up on a kind of a subscription to get the tencha from them. But we can always hook you up too if you like. But it's, I think, a really cool experience. I like having that freshly milled matcha at home because for me, I drink a lot of matcha when I'm at work, but when I'm on the weekends, I don't drink as much, and then my matcha gets old on me, and then I don't drink it at all. So to be able to fresh mill it by the cup like that makes a big difference for me. But if it's not part of your everyday work experience, then you can easily go through 20 to 40 grams at home, right? And in terms of your wrist, you know, it's not okay. So if you have a wrist injury, obviously you don't want to go there. Carpal tunnel, this kind of thing. But if you're just like, oh, I don't have the muscles yet, it's like anything, you know, practice makes perfect. So you just practice, and it's kind of useful to know that omote senke, for example, encourages no froth. So just gently work it in and then just drink it. So it's not like you have to have the froth to enjoy it. That's not necessarily the case. I just find it's like the difference between cream and whipped cream. Why does whipped cream taste so good? I don't know, but it does. Like whipping it, the oxygen, it's awesome. So like, it's just preference, really. I love it. And the bamboo whisk makes the most meringue-like, incredible textured matcha you ever have in your life. But you can also just throw some matcha through a sieve into a jar with some cold water in the bottom, lid the jar, shake it. That's going to work in the matcha. And then just add some hot water, or if you like lattes, you could throw in some hot milk or something, you know? It can be that easy. We call that camping matcha or office matcha. Just make it in a jar. Well, just stay away from those electric whisks. They just waste the batteries. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
I was saying that's very appropriate. We've been kind of doing a Camp Zeta theme here tonight. So the idea for a camp matcha is great. I like that.
Oh, totally. It works. It works actually really nice. And I would just say always use cold water. I don't know if you've ever done this before, because I have, but don't shake hot water in a closed jar.
Bad stuff happens, eh?
Yeah. The bad stuff happens. Cocktail shakers just fire the lid off. Glass jars explode. Yeah, not a lot of fun. So, I would definitely say just shake it in cold water. And then after you've worked it in, then you can add some hot water to taste. But yeah, for those watching at home, you don't need to use the whisk, but I think that it's worth it if you don't have any injuries. If you're just not good with, maybe you just don't have the muscle memory yet, it's worth it to just kind of like learn. And we have some videos too you can check out to like how to make usucha. And you don't even have to just look at Jagasilk stuff. You can definitely look at, there's hundreds, if not thousands of different people showing you how to make matcha online and stuff and YouTube and what have you. So, this is just, I thought it'd be cool to show you guys our method that we have cafes do. Cause it's very specific so that you can taste the difference between different matchas. But again, you can just like wing it. You can just be like, I'll just throw in some powder and whisk it in some random water and drink it. And it's going to be fine.
Something that I always appreciate.
You can be as specific as you want to.
Something that I always appreciate talking to you is, you're so knowledgeable and you have all this, all the deep knowledge, deep detail about all these different teas and how to prepare it properly. But at the end of the day, the idea, just the idea of, people enjoying the tea however they choose to enjoy, even if they're doing it wrong, whatever that means. I've always appreciated
it's so subjective, right? Yeah. What is wrong, So
sometimes it's nice to meet
thank
people
you.
where they're at.
Yeah.
I think that's important. I mean, like I always tell people, like, just because you didn't know how, about this, like, for example, if you buy spices at the supermarket, it's just like your matcha. Like, if you can smell them, they're probably oxidizing, but if you like pull from the back, they won't have, if they're in a clear bag, they won't have photo oxidized. And the difference between the spices in the back and the ones in the front is like night and day, no pun intended. So you have a really parallelable, scenario here with, the spices, with coffee, with, wine oxidizes, things go bad. It's not always like milk where things, turn on you and are actually going to hurt you, but they do lose their chi and they become much less, medicinally active or what have you, so there's the flavor, the potency gets affected. And so I think it's worth it. But I always say, like, do this empirical stuff yourself. Like, don't believe what people tell you, just kind of experiment and see. Like, you could taste the difference between the temperatures of water, for example, right? Like, we made them two different ways. And that's isn't that really real then? Like, you'll just be like, okay, I just tasted it burnt and I tasted it with the lower temperature. And, you might be actually somebody though who prefers it burnt. And that's actually okay. That's fine because taste is subjective. And in some cases, pulling out more tannin is going to be a good idea. Like if you're going to make a smoothie or something, I'd probably go like 70 or a little hotter just so that it punches through the other ingredients and stuff. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, definitely.
There's different things you can do.
Yeah.
So it does depend on what you do.
I think we should probably let you go pretty quick here. But I did want to just give a chance to talk about, I did want to say, Jagasilk and, where people can get some of this stuff and fancy great teas and all that kind of information that.
Thank you, yeah.
So yeah, please let us know where they can get
where
this stuff.
we're at. Yeah, no. If you go to jagasilk.com, we got a web store. I think it's like renewal 23 or something like that. I don't know. You can, I'm going to make a coupon code again this year. I'm going to just do it right when I get off the phone. But Desert Bus 2024 is what it will be. And I'll get you 10% off our stuff. But essentially, jagasilk.com. If you're in Victoria, you can check us out at 633 Courtney. We're inside Nootka Court. You can also, again, check out our YouTube channel. We got a bunch of educational videos. We have over 150 episodes of Jagavision where we meet up with industry people and farmers and do all sorts of talks and stuff and interviews and things. And There's even one with Serge on it if you want to check it out. And I think we even had
You had me on it.
yeah, right, yeah.
I had a mess of that tea, but it was a lot of fun.
We had a lot of fun. Yeah, no, that was Beej. I actually, that was a memorably fun time. But those the older episodes you have to find by clicking on the channel and clicking on live because they were live back then. So all the list of live shows are there. The newer ones are edited. They're a little bit more focused, I guess. And yeah, can I say something though? Is that I'm just really grateful to you guys. I just every year I'm just so stoked to hear that you're doing it again. I know it's a bit of, self-inflicted torture from a certain perspective, but it's just so incredibly inspiring and I just love it so much. And I just get really jazzed knowing, what it's for is so special. I just read on your social, you passed 11 million. That's US, right? Like for
lifetime
Yeah,
charity.
that's US dollars.
Lifetime.
Yeah.
We're up
That is insane.
We're up to
So like,
$349,000 right now just for this year.
I am just floored by what you guys are doing. And for so many years, what year are we on? We do years now instead of like the number of years you've been doing it. But if it was the number of years, what number are you at?
18. So we're
that
pretty
is
close
so
to
amazing.
Jagasilk actually in terms of age.
Yeah.
Yes. Hey. Yeah. Yeah. We're 19 this year, so I guess we were 1 year before you. So next year we're 20. So 2 years, you guys are 20. Well, keep up the good work. Yeah. Nothing but love. And and it'll be Desert Bus 2024 for the coupon code. All right.
All right.
That's great.
And then there's a gift too, aren't we doing like a giveaway or something?
We already
or
did
an
it.
auction or I don't know what you guys do.
Yeah.
You did? Okay,
we did,
amazing.
Yes, the giveaway happened yesterday, I believe. So thank you very much for putting that in.
No problem at all. Yeah, no, I'm glad. I hope that the person who got it is watching because it was a lot of fun putting that together. It's a nice little set of 3 different cultivars and all the equipment you need for making your matcha. So yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much for having me on.
All right.
Really appreciate it. Lots of fun every year.
Thank you.
You take care.
You too.
Okay, well, you're now back in the booth.
Yep.
Okay.
You're no
awesome.
longer live.
Well, I mean, we
I'm
can,
no
hear,
longer
we
live.
can hear you in the room, though, but that's good.
We've got it.
Amazing, cool. No, that's awesome. Well, I hope it went okay. I hope we achieved what you guys wanted for today.
You guys are still live in the room.
Hold on one second.
Oh, are we? Okay, all right. Well,
Something was supposed to be
happy to-
one click there and was not,
I
so
will
just
let-
give us a minute.
Yeah.
Sorry, Jared.
Yeah, as long as I can hear engineering, then I know that we're probably going to keep hearing Jared too, and that's okay. So